Right then, I thought I would do a video today where I sort of just go over a handful of the topics. I don't think there's anything that's breaking at the moment that's worth a standalone video, but there's loads of little things kind of popping off, and not just with United, but also in world football. And I wouldn't necessarily do a video on this, but the likes of Jose Mourinho being offered 30 million by the Saudi league to go and coach there. I think it's Al Hilal that was offering him that sort of contract. It's not necessarily in of itself video worthy, but I did want to talk about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover a few topics, and what I'm going to say to you guys is anything that you would like me to cover going forward, I'll do another one of these tomorrow. Sound like a plan? So let me know in the comments, what have you seen covering that you'd like my opinion on. So the Saudi thing with Jose Mourinho, I do find that quite interesting. And it does sound like Jesse Lingard has recently just popped up saying it. The complete lack of options for David De Gea makes me think that if he leaves Manchester United, which does look like it's quite likely to happen now, I think that the potential place he's going to end up going is Saudi. I don't think we've ever seen a league come in and make as big a splash as we're seeing with Saudi Arabia at the moment. Yes, you've seen a trickle of players in their twilight go over to the MLS. There was like a couple of players going over to China at one point. You've never seen this. In my opinion, you've never seen this. You sort of seen Paris Saint-Germain over an extended period of time spend a lot of money, but the French league was a league that always, through Monaco and Lyon, earlier Marseille, you always had competitive teams within that sort of area being able to go and do some stuff. So Paris doing it wasn't really weird. We've never seen a coordinated effort from a league like this. And I think you've got to sit up and take notice. And the fact that this World Club Cup is going to be taking part in Saudi Arabia as well. I saw that they've pulled back their bid. This is actually worth talking about. I wanted to talk about this on the brew the other day and I just totally forgot. So Saudi Arabia were bidding for the 2030 World Cup. They've pulled out, and they've basically allowed Greece to go ahead and potentially win this. I don't know what the process is for it. Surely it's got to be announced fairly soon. Greece are bidding for the 2030 World Cup. Now, in my limited understanding of economics, you don't make money as a nation, as a state for hosting the World Cup. It just costs you. It's just like a big cost exercise. Now, as far as I was aware, Greece was skint. It was a country that was on its absolute arse. It had austerity measures all over the place. This seems eerily reminiscent of what happened in South Africa, where people were like, we don't want a World Cup. Can you buy us schools? Can you fix the potholes in the road? Why are we spending money on a World Cup when this neighbourhood doesn't have police? Do you know what I mean? I don't know if it's quite as bad in Greece, but I suspect it is. And I just wonder, who the fuck thinks this is a good idea to be able to do that? And then, on the United front, like I said, loads of little topics. Just wanted to sort of get off my chest almost. On the United topic, it seems to be United are in the finalised talks over Onana. And I've got some concerns on this. Not necessarily because it's Onana. More on the fact that 80% of our signings have been people that Ten Hag has worked with. Now that's got a couple of potential scenarios. And there's some I'm more likely inclined to lean towards and some I'm less likely inclined to lean towards. The one I'm more likely to incline to lean towards is that Ten Hag either doesn't trust or the ability is not there in the recruitment side of Manchester United. The other one is that he just wants players he's worked with, and I find that relatively hard to believe. But it's possible, right? I lean more towards the Manchester United's recruitment staff. Look who we've signed. Look who we signed. So you signed Christian Eriksen on a free. He knew him. You signed Anthony, Malacia and Martinez, who he knew. We're bringing in Onana, who he knows. The only one outside of this at the moment is Casemiro. And let's be honest, if you watched, any Champions League football in the last decade, you probably might have had your eye caught by Casemiro at one point or another. So, where are the Vidics and Evras? Where you go, a Spartak Moscow centre out? Are you mad? Like, where are those signings? And it's doable. Like, I've done it. We've gone and uncovered players that have since ended up coming to Europe and then coming to the Premier League and doing well. Like, we have done it. It's been done. Other clubs are doing it. Why aren't Manchester United doing this? Why are Manchester United completely incapable of... So when people talk about your problem with the Glazers, Newcastle fans are going absolutely bananas on social media, by the way. Jesus Christ. And honestly, their arguments are all the same. They come in, steaming in, the Glazers have spent $1 billion, they spent more on debt, mate, cool. And then they're like, well, you're just a Glory supporter. Well, I'm not actually. I've been going for 33 years since I was 6. But you're not even from Manchester. Well, I am. And ultimately, like, do you not realise Newcastle to grow are going to need to have a wider fan base? Just because no one gives a shit about you outside of the Sunderland area doesn't make you a big club. You know what I mean? But one of the big issues that United fans have got with the Glazers is just the complete neglect of running the football club. Where are the directors of football? Where are the heads of recruitment? The people that are in those positions. Darren Fletcher, me and Ash had Darren Fletcher on our podcast. Top bloke. But it's his first job. John Murtagh, employed from within as a club administrator. Those two, and previously it was Ed Woodward, who worked in a fucking bank organising loans, and Matt Judge, who would have no idea who he is. These are the people who over the last decade have been organising Manchester United transfers. And I believe Marcel Bou is involved in there somewhere, but is he? We never hear about him. Never have any sort of understanding about what he does. Where are Manchester United's recruitment team? And if Marcel Bou is there, is he happy with Erik ten Hag? Is it Erik ten Hag saying, no, I just want the players that I know? Well, if so, then that's not right either. But I don't necessarily believe that is the case. I just reckon that this football club just cannot identify players, and therefore Erik ten Hag is having to go and get players that he knows, either because the recruitment channels in terms of talking to the football clubs just doesn't fucking work. We're ringing up all arrogant and going, we're Manchester United, give us this fucking player, and they're going, what? No, this is not how we do business. Or they're just incapable of identifying targets. One of those has to be the truth. One of them has to be. The bottom line is, it ain't good enough. And much like Manchester United throughout the reign of these parasite Glazers, the person who will do it cheap, the person who will do it without answering back, is the person who gets the job, rather than the person who's going to do what is required. Manchester United do not shop at the best supermarkets. We're scratching around the back in the bins, always, for everything. It took them like 15 years to paint the stadium, and even then they painted it the wrong colour. Do you know what I mean? So, look like United and Onana might be completed very soon. There's sources apparently coming out all over the place saying like United are going to get Mount over the line potentially this weekend. I don't know if that's significant. Is it something to do with the 1st of June? Have United just been kind of stalling to try and get, I believe there's some sort of financial thing out on is it today? So, have they been stalling to get this over the line? Are we going to start to see things moving from the 1st of June? Arsenal have spent damn near 200 million. We're still flicking through the fucking catalogue, circling stuff. So, recruitment is the number one important thing, right? I get Pep in at Stratford Paddock as manager to replace me. He's still going to struggle to get fucking promoted out of this league, probably. He's not going to have them playing how Manchester City play. The number one most important thing is recruitment. The number one most important thing. Steve Bruce probably wins this league with City. Maybe doesn't do it in the same style, But with those players at his disposal, Steve Bruce probably wins the league, right? Recruitment is the most important thing. The manager can have all the ideas, all the tactics, everything. He needs players. He needs to improve the playing staff. The only way you improve, and people get this wrong as well, by the way. You don't improve a team by stretching the top end. You improve a team by raising the floor. By eliminating the mistakes and raising the weaknesses of your team is how you win football matches. That is the proven way of doing it. You raise the floor. So you replace your worst player. You don't try and get the best player. You replace the worst player. That's how you win. And you know, if United go into another season with the likes of Harry Maguire or no striker, those are the weaknesses that United need to replace. And I don't see any desire from this club to go and do that. And again, on the recruitment side of things, acting like twats. Now, I don't think David De Gea should be sticking around at Manchester United, but I think you've treated him like an absolute prick, which is out of order, by offering him a contract, and then you refusing to sign the contract that you offered him, and therefore changing the terms and putting it back in front of him, or just removing it altogether. That's horrible. And we know how some players have ended up leaving this club. It has been a joke. It's been an absolute joke. When I was growing up, it seemed like Manchester United did everything right. It was a club that acted with dignity, with class, and every single thing that we did. And just increasingly under the Glazers, that's just become old-fashioned almost. And I'd prefer us to go back to doing that. You know, things matter. Turning up to places in the club suit and that, it matters. It's about having standards in everything you do. And I don't see them having the standards in fucking anything that they do. And on that note, it does look like Sheikh Jassim is very close to completing a full takeover. I hope it is a collective of private individuals. My fear is that it isn't. And I don't want that for United. From what I can gather, and loads of people have been telling me, that there is no wealth in Qatar that isn't basically state sanctioned. And if that's the case, then that's a fucking nightmare scenario. But is it preferable to having the Glazers? I never wanted United to be stay-on. The only thing I've ever wanted United to be is fan-owned. And I believe in it so much that I spent upwards of £100,000 getting Stratford Paddock to where they are and keeping them where they are. And it still costs me money to this day. You know, what the club brings in doesn't cover the cost of training and kits and things like that. I'm still shelling out for that today. Even though 12 months ago we made this thing fan-owned. Realistically, we should, as owners, socialise the losses. But I don't. I still kind of pick the bill up for that. That's how much I believe in fan ownership. It literally costs me money every week. I don't think it's realistic that it'll ever happen with United. I think that our last opportunity was when the Glazers bought us. I think that was the last time Manchester United was probably affordable for the average person to be involved with. You know, when you look at how Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Barcelona, those sorts of clubs are fan-owned, once we got into the billions of pounds, it become unfeasible that you're ever going to see a club of this size go from being privately owned to fan-owned. I think the only way that could happen now is if Manchester United go bump. And obviously we don't want to see that either. That might be the only silver lining if that ever happens. Although I think with who our new owners are likely to be, the chances of that are extremely slim. Do they own us forever now? The Glazers always seemed like they would sell at some point. With Sheikh Jassim and his consortium, we don't know enough about them. Will they just own Manchester United forever? Are they going to have financial pressure on them to sell at some point? And at that point, if the club continues to grow in value, who's to say in 20 years, 25 years time, United's not worth 50, 60 billion? And who's got that sort of money? You're looking at like Apple and Google or Amazon acquiring you, and that's it. I don't think fans are ever going to own this football club. Unless it goes bump, and I don't see how that happens. Unless the bottom falls out of the TV revenue, and that somehow keeps climbing over the last 30 years. Last one, because it's just popped up on my laptop here before we go, but it's from Laurie, so we believe it. It says United have contacted Caicedo's representatives and suggested that they were prepared to go higher than Mount on a fee because of Caicedo's age. I really like Caicedo. I think it'd be worth United looking into the feasibility of getting him, because I think he would add a lot. He makes more sense for me than Mount. In fact, I think we should do the how Caicedo fits in. Stay tuned for that. See you in the next one.